back to the Mex Mundo kitchen. Today's recipe is super yummy. It's something that we often as kids enjoyed, like going to the regular corner store or to the supermarket to buy. And it's the recipe for Twinkies. In Mexico, they're called Submarinos, which is submarine, and I'm pretty sure other countries have similar versions and they have their own special name. My Twinkies are special though because they are the gourmet version, so I think we often have this funny idea because we remember, oh, I used to go to this shop and would buy it and they were so yummy. But then you try them again and it's this sweetness, this funny flavor that, you know, you're just in love with the memory but not really with the taste. These homemade ones are so yummy. It has a mascarpone filling, so trust me, you will not want to buy store-bought ones again after you make these. The ingredients you need to prepare your Twinkies or Submarinos, as we call them in Mexico, are 3/4 of a cup of all-purpose flour. The equivalent is 90 grams. 1/4 of a cup of cornstarch. The equivalent is 30 grams. 1 teaspoon of baking powder. The equivalent is 2.3 grams. 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt. The equivalent is 1.3 grams. 1/2 teaspoon of cream of tartar. The equivalent is 2 grams. 6 tablespoons of granulated white sugar. The equivalent is 84 grams. 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. 6 room temperature egg whites and 6 room temperature egg yolks. For the filling, you're going to need 4 tablespoons of mascarpone cheese, 4 tablespoons of confectioner sugar, 1 teaspoon of clear vanilla extract. Okay, so before we start any of the prepping for our recipe, it's very important to preheat the oven because this is extremely fast to do. So if you have your oven ready, that'll be wonderful. So you have to preheat at 190 degrees Celsius or 375 Fahrenheit. That being said, if you have a sifter, that will make it much easier because you don't need any extra bowls. What you have to do is you have to sift your cornstarch, your flour, your salt, and your baking powder. If you have the sifter, you just leave it in there and sift it into the recipe when it's needed. And if you don't have a sifter and you're using a colander, just put all the ingredients sifted into a bowl and set that bowl aside. For the recipe, I'm going to be using my hand mixer and my stand mixer. If you don't have 2 mixers, then just do it in the steps I'm going to explain. And you will need 2 bowls though for that. So that will be very important in this recipe. With the hand mixer, what I'm going to do is the egg yolks and the egg whites have to be room temperature, like I said. And what we did is you use 6 eggs and you separate the egg yolks and the egg whites. The egg yolks, we're going to put them in the bowl and we're going to start beating them for more or less about a minute. And then you add your sugar in there. You continue beating until the texture is creamy, it's a pale yellow, and it looks like it's doubled in size. You add your teaspoon of vanilla extract in there. You can use normal vanilla extract, it doesn't need to be clear. I like using the normal one because it adds color. You avoid using food coloring, so that's my tip. You don't need to worry about using clear vanilla extract for the biscuit part. And you continue beating at the ingredients until you see it's nice and creamy and it's, like I mentioned, doubled in size. You turn off that beater, and in the other one, which would be my stand mixer, if you don't have one, you just use a separate bowl like I said, you're going to put your egg whites. You're going to beat at high speed until you have soft peaks. Once you see the soft peaks are forming, you add your cream of tartar. You continue mixing at high speed until you have firm peaks. Don't over beat your egg whites, otherwise the enzymes that are supposed to give all that air and the texture, they just break down and you're going to end up with a crumbly egg white, which is useless in your recipe. So just be careful, and as soon as you see the firm peaks, you turn that off. So you guys, I am super sorry. We should have done this before making all the mix, but it's still fine. It's still fixable. We're going to be making Twinkies, so this is the Twinkie mold. You have to grease your mold, obviously, so that the Twinkies come out. I'm just going to be using room temperature softened butter, so just make sure, and a pastry brush. So just make sure you grease each Twinkie form properly so that the Twinkies pop out easily once they're done. And while the next steps are super easy, the main issue here is not mixing. You have to fold in the ingredients because you put a lot of effort into putting air into these things and making them fluffy. So no whisking, just folding. What we're going to do is little by little, we're going to be adding our egg whites into our egg yolks, and we're going to be folding them in until we finish using our egg whites. Once you've finished folding those in and it's still a nice fluffy texture, you're going to do the same with your dry ingredients. You're going to sift them in there little by little and also folding them in until you're fully done integrating. Once you have your mix, you're going to put about 2 teaspoons in each one of the Twinkie molds. It's about 3/4 of the capacity that fits in there, and you have to smooth it out the top so that they bake more evenly, more nicely. And you're going to bake them for 6 to 8 minutes. How do you know they're fully baked? You just have to press you open your oven, you press your Twinkie, and if it bounces back that there's no holes in there, it means your Twinkie is fully baked. So after the 6 or 8 minutes are done, what you do is you take your Twinkie tray out, you leave it in the tray, and you let it cool down for about 1 to 2 minutes. After that, you're going to transfer your Twinkies onto a cooling rack, and then you leave them there so they fully cool down. Okay, so while our Twinkies or Submarinos are cooling down, we're going to do the filling. As I said in the beginning, these are gourmet Twinkies, which means they are so much nicer than the store-bought ones. And the filling is with mascarpone cheese. And what we're going to do is in a bowl, we're going to put our mascarpone cheese, our confectioner sugar, and here's an optional thing to do. I put vanilla extract. The natural vanilla extract is a brown color. The clear vanilla extract is not real, it's an artificial flavor. So, Twinkies have a white filling. If you put the real vanilla extract, it's gonna turn slightly brown, it's gonna taste super yummy, but the color changes. If you put the clear one, it's gonna taste exactly the same, it's just an artificial flavor, but it will stay white. So that's optional, you guys can use whichever vanilla extract you have at home. You don't have to go shopping and buy a clear one unless you're doing it for a business and you want a special presentation. For the video, I'm going to be using the clear one so you can see the white filling, but otherwise when I'm just baking for the family, I use the traditional one. And we are going to whisk it until we have a smooth sauce. So you add your mascarpone, your confectioner sugar, and your vanilla, and you're going to whisk, whisk, whisk until the filling is nice and creamy and smooth and you have the least lumps possible. Now comes the fun part, which is how to fill your Twinkies. If you guys have paid attention to the store-bought ones, they usually have 3 holes, which is done by a machine. The machine has a special pressure, and I don't know, it also depends, I guess, on the filling they use. Their Twinkies are exploding with filling. It's funny how they do it, I don't know. I have this special tip, which is supposed to be for filling. I tried it and it doesn't work. It will fill your Twinkie, but it's barely any filling. It's mostly cake, and that's not nice for me. I like it to have a lot of filling. So that's optional if you want to use that tip. I also recommend using a paring knife. So you just cut out a big rectangle, scoop it out with a spoon, put your filling in there, and then pop in the little piece you took out back in. It won't look so pretty. Sometimes it tries to pop out because it's a hole you're creating, but it works. And here's the favorite item that worked for us. My husband, he's quite a clever guy, trying to be nice to you. And he was poking around in our drawers, and then he took out the turkey syringe. He filled it in with the filling, and he injected it into our Twinkie. That was perfect. We have enough filling in there to make it super awesome. And you can't see anything. There's no holes here. You just have the hole you poke through here, which barely shows because it's a syringe. And it worked out perfect. So if you guys, these are super cheap. I bought mine in my local supermarket in the US in Safeway. You can get them in any supermarket. They're really cheap and they work wonderful for Twinkies. So you have 3 options. You can use the tip, the knife, or the turkey syringe. They all work. Okay, so we are done filling in our Twinkies or Submarinos. Just as an option, I like giving tips because I know not everyone is an addict to buying all different trays for baking, or you don't have the space, or you don't have the budget, or you're simply not interested in having tons of different forms. So what you can do is, I think most of us have cupcake forms at home, so you can just bake it in a cupcake tin. You add the same amount and you're just going to get a cupcake shaped Twinkie, which tastes exactly the same, just a different shape. And let me cut one of the Twinkies open so you see how the syringe fills them up. So you can see it goes fully through, it fills it up perfectly. Every single part of the Twinkie has filling, which is what I like about the syringe. You just really have to poke it in there, like fully put it in, because if you just put the syringe part, somehow it doesn't reach the other end. So you have to go even to the, I'm not sure if it's called a knob or it's kind of like a screw, I don't know. Just put it fully in your Twinkie so that it really fills up, and you will have the yummy mascarpone filling in there. Another tip I want to share is, I don't know if mascarpone cheese is available absolutely everywhere. Maybe small towns or small supermarkets don't carry it. So an easy way to make a substitute for that is using cream cheese. It's also a very neutral flavor. So instead of using the 4 spoons of the mascarpone cheese, you use 4 spoons of Philadelphia cream cheese or whatever brand you like using. And you just add the same confectioner sugar and vanilla. You whip it, and that's the filling you're going to use for your Twinkies, which is going to be just as amazing, just as yummy, and better than the store-bought ones. I hope you guys enjoyed making or watching the video and making it later on. And if you do make the recipe, please hashtag us at Mex Mundo Kitchen and let us know what you thought about the recipe. Bye!